I think there are 4 characteristics that make Joe a great coach. First is Joe's ability to bring out the very best in his players, especially those with the least amount of character or talent. Joe has a knack for taking the underachievers and elevating their game to the next level. Instead of coaching down to their level, Joe would coach them up to a higher performance level. He took his players where they couldn't go on their own. He coaxed out of his players the very best they could do, and then a little bit more. Second is Joe's ability to develop physical toughness. Joe learned at an early age what toughness was all about. Joe played high school football in Pittsburgh for a blood and guts coach who believed in brute force and discipline. Joe's high school teammates nicknamed him the Deacon, after a local tough guy. The Deacon was a street fighter, a brawler, as tough as nails, guy who never lost. Joe came away from this experience with the conviction that if you are going to play football, you better be tough. You are either going to be tough or you will be run out of town. Throughout his coaching career, Joe preached playing tough, hard-nosed football. And he sold his players on the notion that to win, they had to dominate the line of scrimmage and play with toughness, fearlessness, and grit. Third is Joe's gift for evoking the loyalty of his players. This talent is best illustrated by the fabled offensive line that Joe built in Washington called the Hogs. Joe coined this phrase not only to rally attention to his 300-pound linemen, but also to create pride and spirit. Becoming a hog was an act of bonding, and the glue that held them together was Joe's conviction that he preached over and over again that the offensive line is as critical to success as the quarterback or tailback. By creating the Hogs, what Joe did was make the offensive line a family. And within that family, Joe cultivated pride, dedication, and loyalty. Joe coached his Hog family of Jeff Bostic, Joe Jacoby, Russ Grimm, and Mark May to a combined 20 appearances in the Pro Bowl. And finally, the fourth characteristic of Joe's that is special is his love for players. Joe lets you know up front that his goal was to make you a better player. Joe made a pact with his players. If they dedicated themselves to the team, not only would he not let them fail, but he would also lead them to greatness. His genuine love and concern for his ball players is best expressed by how he took time for them. When a player wanted to visit Joe, he would stop whatever he was doing, whatever he was working on, and he would give that player his undivided attention. Joe would look his players directly in the eye and listen. The love and respect that Joe's players held for him is best expressed by Steve Wisniewski, the All-Pro guard of the Oakland Raiders, who said that Joe Bugel is the best coach he's ever been around. And by the way, Steve played for Joe Paterno at Penn State. Gentlemen, I give you Joe Bugel.
Thanks, guys. Thanks a lot, Marty. Took me 5 hours to write that thing. I'm glad you got everything right. Thanks a million. Appreciate that. I really appreciate the opportunity to come down here, man. This is a real privilege for me. I thought coaching was always a privilege, but to come in a room with some distinguished people, a lot of friends in here, a lot of people I've worked with, coached with, been friends a long time. It's important. It's important to me. It's important to you that we're able to share some thoughts together. And I like to make this as informal as possible. I know it's late in the evening. I like to talk some things about the Connor game. And before we get into the Connor game, I like to just go back and tell you a little bit about the people that had a strong influence on my life. Probably the strongest guy in college that I had the chance to work for and with was Woody Hayes at Ohio State. I loved the guy. I always wanted to work there. I worked hard to get there. My brother played at Ohio State, was a 3-year All-American right there. Our family loved him. I thought it was a privilege because in transition, when I was away from a family, Woody had this nice white home on the Ohio State campus, and I had the opportunity to stay with him and his lovely wife, Annie, for about 4 months. So I was with him day and night. Not only did he talk football, he talked about just about everything. He was a brilliant person. He was a very tough, hard-nosed man to work for. I'd never been around. There's 3 guys in football that the players had great trust and the people had great integrity. It was Woody Hayes, Joe Gibbs, and Bum Phillips. 3 great people to work for and with. But Woody was the number 1 guy because the first day I took that field, I must have had about 12 note cards of every drill known to man. He says, Joe, come over here. He said, we're not in the entertainment business. He said, you teach those kids how to drive block, how to angle block, how to pull. He never mentioned pass protection because that was probably one of the best jobs for a young coach because we were going to run the football. If there were 75 plays in the ball game, we're going to run it 73, and we may run 2 button hooks. But it was a great experience because the man knew how to run the football. He knew how to run off tackle, and he was a guy that really, and there's some guys that frown upon it today about the arm thrust, using the hands, using the fist in run blocking. And over the years, it worked. It worked. And that's all he wanted you to teach is come off the football with the first 2 steps, have a landmark, snap, use a neck bridge, but he wanted to bring those hands in tough. And today I still see guys shooting from the hips. I see a lot of pushing and shoving, especially at the pro level. A lot of wrestlers, a lot of soft guys. College, the old days, it was mostly run blocking. And when we went to Washington, that may have been the greatest job ever, the way Joe Gibbs had that set up. Because when we came in as a staff, and I knew Joe, I didn't know Joe at all. We were at Houston at the time, and I think this is something for you young guys out there because a lot of you want to move up, move up, move up. If you do a great job, just being in pro football for 26 years and being around Bobby Beathard and people like that, when they went scouting, they scouted coaches also. They kept the OCAs on everybody. The harder you work, the luckier you're going to get. And Woody told me that when I went into pro football. He said, don't change anything. And when we went into pro football at that time, the NFL was 4-3 defense, man blocking. They had no clue about the 34 defense and slants and angles. So we felt with that kind of a background, we were a little bit a step ahead of the game. But when we went to Washington, Joe sat down with the staff. Once we got the staff together, and he said, "This is our philosophy, man. Offense, defense, and special teams. Now we want to go out and get those kind of players to play for us." It was the most enviable job in the National Football League because the coaches got to pick the guys that they wanted to coach. And Joe worked for Don Coryell. He had a great stretch right there as an assistant coach, as a coordinator, but he was run mental tough. He loved to run the football. And the number one thing, probably one of the best things we did, and we had a great run of it, 4 Super Bowls in Washington, was to cut down that offense because Coryell, those guys would like to go in with 15 or 20 runs, hundreds of pass routes, 10, 15, 20 different protections. We finally convinced Joe, and it wasn't easy, that we needed to run 5 runs and limit our pass protections because we started 4 rookies in that offensive line our first year there. So we were going to run the counter, and it's probably the most difficult play to teach and coach because it's an assignment play, and if your head coach and signal caller does not have patience, you'll never get it run. We were committed to that play. We were going to make that play our signature play. We ran what we called gut and slant. We're an off-tackle football team. That's where we're going to make our living. We were formations. We were going to dazzle you with formations and movements and motions, but we were going to run the counter and we were going to run the ball off tackle. We did the same thing at Houston, but we had Earl Campbell. Bum was a very simple type of coach when it come to football. It was blocking and tackling. We didn't have 6 runs down there. We had 4. And everything started with the I formation. And I love him to death because he would come up on game day and say, "Joe, we're going to run the ball 50 times today, right?" "Yes, sir, Coach, we sure are." But it was that kind of mentality. Those 2 programs right there, we went out and got the kids that we wanted to win and play that kind of ball. We always felt if you go out and get a kid that's a great run blocker, and the biggest thing is if he can use his hands, we can teach him how to pass block. And in Washington at that time, if a kid was limited, we did a lot of speed protection. We did a lot of play action protection. We had a real good quarterback in Joe Theismann. Joe can get the ball up in the air now. And we ran a lot of 3-step hitches. But we didn't put our guys. Nowadays, I even had a tough time putting that empty, that ghost, no backs. God damn, these quarterbacks were taking a licking. We never got into that, man. We never got into that. We were a lot of maximum protection. We were counter pass protection. And we were play action. And in nickel situations, what we try to do is stay out of those long yardage situations. When we got in long yardage, we were going to roll that quarterback out. A couple things I wanted to go over, man, that I thought that we did a good job of. Joe was really the person that got this started, was how we practiced. I was talking to some of the guys at the table that we try to get all our agility, sled work, dummy work done in the spring and in the summer. We worked our kids hard. We worked them hard. They came in. Before we ever drafted a kid or brought a kid in, we say, "This is how we're going to work." Man, we stay on the field a long time. We wear full pads. We're not worrying about getting tired. You don't get tired legs. We're going to just work and work and work. We thought by mid-year, we become so calloused that that's when we made our great runs to the Super Bowls. At 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th, 13 games. We never pulled off them. Right or wrong, that was our beliefs. But we did all the busy work, the detail work in the summer. So when we went to training camp, and as an offensive line coach, I think it's real important, man, when you take a job, find out who that D-line coach is. Because if that sucker likes to stand down the far end of the field and just do individual drills by himself, you're going to get screwed. I had Wade Phillips at Houston, Torgy Torgerson at Washington, Wayne Nunley at San Diego. Good people. Floyd Peters with the Raiders. They wanted to be with the offensive line coach. They wanted to run technique work together. So we spent very little individual time in training camp and during the season. We got that stuff done in the spring. So what we did, we had a lot of block reaction drills. We maybe took 5 minutes to warm up, but we'd always end up with a defensive line, and we'd always run drive blocks first. That was the first thing we did. That was the number one thing in our offense, was teach our kids how to drive block. And for us at Washington, we played a 4-3 defense, and they played it straight. And it was just, hey, how to take a block on, how to shed a blocker, how to make a perfect fit. So we had to go against good people. Trying to teach an offensive lineman to hold a bag or try to be a defensive guy, you get a false picture. You get a real false picture if you want to be a nut-cutting type of run football team that we wanted to be. So we put our youngins in that situation on a daily basis. They knew it. They understood it. That was the first thing. Then we worked angles. The biggest thing that we wanted to do, we wanted to teach our kids how to angle block, because that was part of the counter. Doing it against good guys because of block reaction. See how the good defensive guys would react. And Torgy loved that. So it was drive, angles, doubles. Drive, angles, double team blocks. Now we wanted to get the situation. We brought the tight ends where we started tray blocks, deuce block, joker block was a double team between our center and our guard. So we did that against good people. We taught them how to practice. That was one thing Joe Gibbs did on a daily basis. This is how we are going to practice. We are not going to go on the ground. We're not going to be stupid. We didn't teach cut blocking. We weren't into that. Everything was above the waist. We were going to teach them how to drive block. We didn't want big guys going down on the ground. Some guys like to teach that cut block, and we didn't. Back in the old days, it was integrity. Don't try to blow a guy's knee out. So we were by the rules in that situation, but this is how we started right here. That was strictly a run reaction period. And then to wrap it up, we worked on cutoffs. Both sides worked on cutoffs. But the biggest thing is teaching linebacker, teaching centers and guards how to come up and balance up on linebackers. We spent a lot of time on that because sooner or later we're going to run into those 3-4 defenses. We had the Giants that played the 3-4. We had the Eagles that played the Bear 46. We had Phoenix that played the 4-3 defense. Dallas who played the flex defense. So we tried to get that accomplished in training camp. Every Monday, what Joe had was 46 day, flex day. So at least one day in camp, possibly 2 days in camp, we worked on our opponents. And the biggest thing that I learned from Joe Gibbs was this in practice. When we started practice, we had a very quick warm-up. O&D line, that block reaction drill right there. And then we had 9-on-7. In 9-on-7 drill, we ran our guts. We ran our slant plays. It was just get after football right there, and we'd work against a 3-4, a 4-3, overs, unders, the whole thing. But that period was just toughness. We weren't working on any perimeter plays at all. Then, as a change-up, we worked 5-on-4. Torgy liked this drill right here, his 4-3 defense. We had the back, and we just run the off-tackle play. And he just liked to teach that guy how to shuck, how to make the tackle. So we worked that. Then, when we got into practice, when we went past, we had 9-on-9. This is the one drill right here, man, that really helped our young offensive line. And not only did we do this in Washington, but we continued to do it out in the coast when we went out to the coast schools out there when we left. But the thing was about 9-on-9 would start here. It was the passing game. We had the Y, the Z, the X, H, R back, and we'd have tackle, end in the center. They would rush. And what we wanted to do is we wanted to get our quarterback to step back there if it was a 3-step, a 5-step, or a 7-step drop, not to go back there and try to win on 7-on-7, which you do. You hold the ball forever. So what we wanted to do is we wanted to put people in Theismann's face right now, Rippon's face, Doug Williams' face, where they had to throw the ball. You have to have a great defensive line coach right here. That when this guy runs a jailbreak or gets through, he doesn't touch the quarterback. The head coach controls this. Joe Gibbs controlled that. He said, if you break through, and you're going to break through, because we had a heck of a defensive line. We had Dexter Manley on one side, Charles Mann on the other, Dave Butts, pretty good football players. But they were smart enough and schooled enough to know if they got through, they'd just pull up. They wouldn't get close to that quarterback. But this gave our offense and defensive lines a chance to go good against good, start with a straight rush, then they did any kind of stunt they want. We went 2 on the right side, and then we put the 2 guards in the center in with the middle linebacker, and we had him activated, so everybody had to go 1-on-1. We went 2 in the middle, and then 2 on the left side. So the practice was a continuous contact type of practice where we didn't do a whole lot of 1-on-1 because 1-on-1 became almost like a bull drill down there. We didn't get a whole lot out of that. But the 9-on-9 was very competitive, and it helped us dramatically. We coached hard as a staff until we got to the team period. Team period, what Joe liked was at least 30 plays for the regulars. Very, very little substituting. The offensive line never substituted. We went 30 straight plays. But he wanted to go rapid fire. He wanted nobody in the huddle. Those days we signaled from the sideline, so Joe would be on the sideline with Don Bro. Dan Henning would stand in the back. He would be the far back coach right here. Now, I would take the defensive line. Jerry Rome would take the secondary, and Rennie Simmons would take the outside linebackers. We had a coach taking the inside. We coached our living socks off during team period. We were in charge of the Scott team. We worked hard right here. We wanted rapid fire. We wanted to get through so many plays without people. That destroyed Joe. Joe didn't want people in the huddle talking to guys at team period. Let them play. Let them get ready for Sunday afternoon. And we made this defensive Scott squad, they went full bore. They went full bore. So it was stay on off the ground, get after it, get your assignment. We'll correct you in the tape room that evening or the next morning. So it was a very, very active practice. There wasn't any standing around. When the defense had their time to go up, we would take our front people, I'd take the Hogs down one corner, and we'd just continue to practice. That was more of a leisure time period right there. When the defense had the ball, these guys didn't have to service the defense, so we just took them down there, and we stepped through a lot of the different assignments. When did we work on a counter game? We spent 15 minutes every day. Every day. Morning, if it was training camp, morning and afternoon. We had a 15-minute period with everybody there. It was more or less a jog through. The counter became such a violent play in practice. We had to really try to control that because of the trap and how our defense played the counter game. So we kind of serviced ourselves in the counter, and then in preseason, we'd at least call it 15 times a game. Joe was committed to that. In the Super Bowl in San Diego against Denver, we ran it 27 times. I have that tape cut up for you right here. I like to show tape. What we got into, man, we got out of the big notebook theory. You know what I mean? We did it one year at Washington. It took us all summer to put a notebook together, and we kept a lot of stuff out because we didn't want the other teams to know it was in there, but it was a tedious job. And Joe said, you know, we're wasting a lot of time, man. And I thought we said a good thing because we had a hell of a staff. There's a lot of great staffs that I've observed in college football. A lot of great staffs, and I don't know how you do it, but here's how we did it there, and we did this with Bum. Every summer, when the season was over, Joe wasn't a busy work type of guy. He didn't care about stats, making up charts and all this kind of stuff. We didn't worry about plus and minus grading our players. We graded our players and made a comment sheet. We're kind of grading ourselves. That was the whole thing about grading. He wasn't into all that plus and minus. He didn't like the busy work. Now, we worked all night. Well, I was okay. We weren't bragging about that. We liked to do that because the offensive staff never left that one room right there. We put in the game plan together. We didn't have a coach down there working on running game, a coach over there working on. We all sat in that room together because we all spoke in one voice. The receiver coach knew the counter game as good as the offensive line coach. We put the run game in together, the pass protections, the routes. Everybody sat in that room. Was it good? Hell yeah, learned a lot of football. Learned a lot of football because as an offensive line coach, you can go down that dark room and you sometimes you don't even know pass routes or what we're trying to do on offensive passing game. But there we sat there and we talked about it. If something didn't click, we say, hey, Joe, that just doesn't jive. So we talked through that all the time. We stayed overnight, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. We didn't care. We enjoyed being together. Joe was the signal caller. He had to write that game plan up maybe a dozen times before it sunk in. He'd write it up. Over here, write it up. We had boards on boards. But we enjoyed it. We enjoyed each other. We enjoyed that passion of the game. The biggest thing was this. When we went to Washington, you want to think about this too. The owner wanted to win Super Bowls. And what he did and what Joe did, I thought was a great thing among the staff because it prevented jealousy or he's getting more and I'm getting more in this. Joe had a great pay scale. At that time, he tried to pay every assistant at least $200,000, which is pretty damn good. He gave every assistant coach 2 cars, one for yourself and one for your wife. Everybody was treated equally. Everybody was treated equally. He was the most trustworthy person I've ever been around. He took care of the staff. The staff meant a lot to him. In the off season, we didn't have to come in and guard our desk. He'd have a schedule set up. What he'd like to do was get the whole staff together, go in and watch the offensive tapes first, the defensive tapes, and special teams. And you'd be surprised, man, as a staff, as you sit there and you go over the tape, the defense say, why'd you do this? What's the reason for this? Or the defense would say, if you do this, that puts a lot of heat on us. So we really questioned each other during these times right here. It was kind of a clinic with our own staff. Sometimes you always want to go someplace else and find out what somebody else is doing when you got good people on that staff right there. We had a staff that, they came from Texas, Arkansas, Florida State. Guys have been in great programs. We wanted to pick each other's brains right there, so we used the off season to do that. And we graded our players while we did it. We had clinics on the field. Joe liked to go out. He liked to go out with the defensive coaches and find out about receiver splits, flex splits, routes, certain routes. So we went on the field, and we spent a lot of time on the grass. We did constructive things, we thought, in the off season. Not bullshit things, you know what I mean? Wasted time things. Like I said, we didn't worry about making notebooks. We made our players write in books, write in loose leaf books. And we did a lot of coaching off of tape. We'd put the tape up. Our guys, you always have to understand, some guys are not real good readers, and some of those notebooks are so in tune with reading material, they don't get anything out of it. So they loved pictures. Those hogs, man, they just wanted to watch tape. They loved to watch tape, and as they watched the tape, they'd take notes and we'd say, this is the blocking scheme we want to use. So that was a great learning experience for all of us. Well, we stayed on the field probably 3 hours, 3.5 hours. After practice, we took our backups, and we went through blocking reactions, pass protections. We got our backups ready to play, but we did not want our backups in team. We wanted to keep that team together. That was our conditioning. Joe didn't like to run sprints at the end of practice, but if you go 30 straight plays and the ball's thrown downfield, them offensive linemen had to break 10 yards. they had to break 10 yards. If they didn't break 10 yards, their names were put down. We do it after practice. So we try to build a lot of integrity within that football team. The biggest thing, again, we did was we cross-checked our football team. As an offensive line coach, I walk through that locker room every day and spend a lot of time with the defensive guys. The defensive guys, you'd be surprised, the more you stroke them. Dexter Manley loved to practice. And I'd go up to him because he had to go against Jacoby every day. And Jacoby sometimes would never even touch him. That's how fast Dexter was. I said, boy, if you give him 5 more like that tomorrow, Dexter. So it was a game of stroke for us. We were locker room coaches. We brought meals in. We were a very, very close-knit organization, a close-knit family. We worked them hard, and we loved them. We fed them good off the field. We drank beer with them. We had a good relationship with our football players, our team. During those days, it was pretty good drinking. When we got to Washington, George Allen had that 5 o'clock club. Boy, he built a great shed for the Over the Hill gang. And we continued it. And Russ Grimm, in those days, he was a representative from Budweiser. So the Bud truck would come in once a week. The boy, they'd load that shed. And, you know, George Allen had a pretty good thing. I said, now, I know Thursday nights is a drink night for the pros. You know, rather than going out, let's just put a nice little bar right in our backyard. Their wives would bring them to practice on Thursday. They'd have a few beers. The mamas would pick them up and take them home. So we knew exactly where they were. We continued that tradition. Joe was great on the airplane. He knew they were going to have fun. He'd get on the airplane for about 5 minutes, look at the sheet right there, put eye things on, earplugs. He slept the whole trip, and we just had a hell of a time with him. You know what I mean? So that's the kind of guy he was. He was hassle-free. He didn't hassle the players, but he wanted to play hard and practice hard. Basically, man, we went to a lot of single back, 3 receivers. And the reason for it, and I hear you guys talk about a lot of time, is we want to eliminate that 8-man in the box. We started out 2 backs in Washington, and we had them safeties up there, and we said, hey, let's build a 1-back set where we can run the ball off tackle, we can run the counter in 3 wides, heavy, all different formations. So this is our starting point right here. Now, the other thing is people thought I was crazy. We never demanded our left tackle to get in a left-handed stance. Those left-handed stances at one time drove me crazy because the guy could never cut off. He had a hard time pulling. Yeah, he could kick step, but we were pass first, run second. And we had play action, aggressive protection. So that wasn't a big key. That wasn't a big key for us to force a guy. This is Jim Lachey. He can operate from that parallel base. So basically, we like toe to arch or balanced. We didn't have a real big stagger because we did a lot of pulling. We were going left. We were going right. This is one of our base plays. This is where we started. I like putting this on because this was against a real good defense right here, the Bears. We felt 7 in the box. That was fair for us. We always had a tight end back here, our H-back. We didn't have a natural fullback at Washington. We drafted and brought in a lot of tight ends. But this is our drive block right here, whether you call it inside zone or outside zone. We called it base blocking. Left guard, center. They're going to double team, just like everybody's doing right now. The arm thrust by the left tackle. That was just a man block right here. It's our left tackle. There's the explosion right here, the double team. That we were using an ass block at one time on cutoffs. This wasn't real good. This is Mark Schlereth, the tough guy right here. But there's the thrust we wanted. We wanted to drive in. This is a refrigerator. We want to definitely give him a good ride on this. That was our number one play, man. That was what we did on 9-on-7 every single day. That was Ernest Biner right there, pretty good back. Here's the next play right here. Same thing. This is against the 3-4 defense. Now, what we didn't do, which a lot of people do, is on a zone play, drive at guard for that defensive end. We went more to a read step. We were reading that near knee. If that near knee didn't come down, then we were going to double with the tackle. If that near knee came down, we were going to overtake the end. We didn't extend ourselves where that linebacker can cut underneath us. So we were more of a read technique than blasting that guy right there. So he would read the near knee, Comes down right here. Now they're going to double team onto the linebacker. We like that scenario better than just going after the guy right now and trying to knock him across the tackle's face. The whole thing about the system was the drive block. Picking a landmark and taking people off the line of scrimmage and not knocking them sideways. So this was really the starting point of the whole offense right here, man. Backside slip block. Everybody was up. That's bad. We didn't want that. We'd rather have this on the backside slip where you had all the jerseys off the ground, staying up, blocking tough on that. Our 40 and 50 gut is a great play for us right here. It's another off-tackle play. Again, 3 wide receivers, 4-3 defense, 7 in the box. We thought that was very, very fair, but we started this. Again, we wanted the arm thrust. And I used to argue with all these young offensive, you can't do that, but if you're going to knock some big sucker off the football, you better have some thrust, man. Woody Hayes was very successful doing this. A lot of teams. But to get that punch, to get that lift, those are the things we liked. Against good players, you know what I mean? You won't be able to knock people off the ball. We thought the Bears, hey, you got to go through Chicago to get to the Super Bowl in those days when Ditka had that bunch. If we didn't practice against our first unit, they would have just ate us alive. Those are big people. We had big people in our defense, so we went big on big, one-on-one every day. Again, we didn't worry about their tired legs and this and that. Nobody got tired. There's a 7-man box right here. Here's a stunt, a pass pro stunt. As long as you just keep coming off the football, good things will happen. Just knock them back, react, just react. Don't slow the process down. Just finish things off. So we had tough guys. They had to be tough because we practiced tough all the time. I'm just going to keep saying that over and over because we became very calloused when the 12th, 13th, 14th, 15th, 16th game came here. Here's against a solid defense against Philadelphia. 1 back, 7 in the box, high frequent defense, run the ball off tackle, run the ball off tackle. But it's mismatches in there, man. You know, you're talking about Reggie White, the Jerome Browns. They had great football players. And, you know, we had a 260-pound center from Clemson. And the biggest thing that we did, we always wanted to find out from their high school coaches, can this player play hurt? We knew they could play with pain because the first day of training camp you're in pain. But we wanted to know if our guys can play and practice hurt. Jeff Bostic in 13 years never missed a practice or a game, and he was 260 pounds. He wanted to be 300, but he was 5'11", 260. A great wrestler in high school. Didn't miss any practices in high school or college. He was tough. But that's the kind of guys we had right here, and they took great pride in it. But when we showed them this, we said, that's why we practice hard. Joe let him never get complacent. After the first Super Bowl, we went to a Super Bowl the second time. He said complacency is the greatest success disease there is. So we worked harder. It was a very hard, intelligent, relentless work ethic. I just wanted to start with that because that was where we started. I wanted to get in the counter game right now, men, and if you have any questions, please feel free to ask, okay? I kind of drew some things up so I didn't have to take a lot of time. We started with the OT, not the OF, because we were going to be basically a 3 wide receiver team, and we wanted to have a play that we can run versus all defenses in every formation. So OT was the thing. We understood that if you had a great player on the backside, he could chase a dime. I drew it up against the 3-4 because this play was tested against probably the best linebacker ever to play in the National Football League, Lawrence Taylor. This play was great versus a 3-4 Giant defense because they were 2-gap. The biggest thing we did on counter tray is we taught our receivers, and that's why we met as a staff, man, because those receivers had to know how to run block and they had to know how to pass block because they were in our passing scheme in maximum protection. So those kids were well drilled in that, and they had to understand run blocking. It wasn't a token thing. We worked very, very hard on it, and it's just a scare type of block. That's all we wanted him to do. We had a great kid doing it right here. His landmark was he wanted to end up in a far position with great depth. We worked hard on our tight end at taking an inside gap step. And we used to go round and round. Is the tight end better on the ball or off the ball? It didn't make a difference. Basically, our tight ends like to run the counter from off the ball. We had great success with it, especially in a one-back nickel look. So that wasn't a big thing. But we wanted to take that gap away right now. On our double team blocks, we wanted to stay as square as possible on our initial hit. As long as that cloth stayed in the gap, that tight end rode him. He was not in a hurry. He was not in a hurry to leave that tackle. Our tackle now, after 2 steps, he started his abort. He aborted. He had to prevent any kind of a run-through by the middle backer, but his target was that far backer. That was his baby. That's who he wanted to block. So his course was very, very disciplined. He did not chase high rushers. He stayed on that course. That was his course through the football. This was the key blocks. They're the angle blocks right now. Our landmark was the near hip. We wanted to come down and put our face on the near hip. Good thrust. Lift that guy's shoulder pads off. Everything we taught was a forklift action. Stick and lift. Stick and lift, stick and lift, even on the angles. The center had the tough block. He had the tough block. On the OT, he just ran until he broke glass. He just turned and ran until he broke glass. He had to get over there in a hurry. It was an angle. Go now. Our Z just built a wall right here. And you're going to see the tape now that will back it up that Lawrence Taylor could not make the tackle even when we didn't seal off, believe it or not. Our guard now always trapped the first man outside the tackle, we told him. Right here. Our tackle got 1 yard deep. He came off the guard's block and he looked over his inside shoulder. When we had the H in the backfield, we liked to bluff. We like to bluff to prevent this guy from building a wall inside. So in the Super Bowl, you'll see it. He came out bluffed. He had strong safety. Our counters, OT, men, were meant to hit right here. That's where that counter was meant to hit. And as time went on, we kept on moving that counter a little bit tighter. But when we first put it in, that's the alley we wanted to attack. That's the alley we wanted to attack. Working down now, the under defense. This has become a very tough block on the counter, as you're well aware of. But we told that center on OT, you got to hit it right now. Sometimes we did tell him to get a little bit low on that, but he had to shoot it right now because that 3 technique can blow up the play. Same thing didn't change. The tray block right here. Again, abort. You got will. Angle, you got to hit it right now. And that tackle, man, we made him get a yard deeper than the guard so that guy couldn't knock him off course. One of the better formations, if a team had a great 3 technique or a great chaser on the backside, we went now, instead of the H in the backfield, we put the H off the line of scrimmage. Now he was our sealer. We told him to replace the guard. Run, replace the guard. Some of them could get down there inside and shuffle. So if that 3 technique was a problem, we wanted a body to help protect that center. We wanted a body. Nothing changed right here. That was very consistent right here. That's how we wanted to block it, and that's the alley. In this particular case, our receivers blocked the targets. The corners were zombies. They wouldn't hit a dead man. They were cover people in the league. The safeties were blow-up guys. So we said, don't worry about the zombies. Get to the targets. Get to the targets. This was one of our better ways of doing it right here with H and Y off the line, because now we can also go to a check with me type of offense. You can go either way. So those two guys right there had to work very, very hard. And believe it or not, our kids really liked the off position than they did the on position in the counter. So we spent a lot of time on that. Now, everything was predicated on that nose guard versus a solid defense, a 46. If he was flexed, he became the Mike backer. What I'm talking about is this. If he was flexed, we doubled here, and we counted him in the blocking scheme. The center rule never changed. He had to hit it hard right now. The tight end now took that gap step on that 46. He had to make a buy right there. That was his buy. We told him, you buy that son of a bitch right there. Inside or outside, you take care of him in 46. Guards rule never changed. First man outside to tackle. Tackle 1 yard deep. He built the alley, and we're off and running. Now, take the risk on that guy. I'd say that guy maybe made the tackle 1 out of 10 times. In that hard 8-man front right there. Philadelphia was going to give it to us. The last scenario, if a team wanted to play the hard 8 and we wanted to run the counter, this was a type of play. If things weren't going real well, we went to our big guys to settle everybody down because that was the play. Joe said, give me one play that we can trust, that we can gain 4 yards on. Give me one play. And we sold him on that, and he was sold on it, and he called it. Great signal caller because he listened. He listened. Because you could take some lost yardage on any play, especially this play right here, moving parts. Patience. Patience. And anytime you can run a play 27 to 30 times in a ball game, you love it. You love it. We like this because we put our 3 big guys in. This guy for us was a tweener, an in-between type of tight end. We had a kid by the name of Clinton Didier. He was stiff as a goose, but he can run real fast. We didn't ask him to do a whole lot of different things. He was a scare type of blocker. So on the load now, would bring him across. He was the sealer. He was the sealer. Now, this is what we wanted. We wanted to blow up the defensive end. These techniques never change. Inside gap steps. Stay square. The inside man ready to abort unless he crossed your face. We wanted to run a double team right here, a deuce. Prevent any kind of a run through. And that defense right here, we were always concerned about that far backer. So the double team took care of him. You cannot get careless on that sucker because that's the guy that can blow up the counter play. So the double team, we had to start, get the push first, abort. That is your man. Go get him across the football. Nothing changes for the center. First man, we tell you, outside the tackle, depth, build the wall, and we're hitting it. Great play. But I'll tell you what, man, it's a play that you have to work on day and night. You got to start in the springtime, the summertime. But once you make the commitment, don't bail on it because you're going to put a lot of time in on that sucker. A lot of time. And we did it. We were bullheaded to say nobody's going to stop that sucker. This is a list we give our players. This was our counter series. As we got into it, we needed to add some little trick plays to it also that didn't take a whole lot of teaching time, but were sound. We had the OT bluff we talked about. We'll get into the counter OF in a minute. We had counter OY, which was a great nickel play for us because that's the reason we liked our tight end off the football in our 3 wides. Counter load we talked about. Counter pass was a cod lock. It was a 2-man right. They bring that 8th guy up in a box. We destroyed people. We had a double post and an over-under. I have that on tape. The counter reverse is magnificent. If you get a hard chaser on the backside, we pulled the tackle, we pulled our back, and we brought the back around, a wide receiver around. It was a great play. The counter screen, you'll love this on tape too. So that was a nice little package for us right there. Now, again, if you think you can run 15 plays plus that package, you're whistling Dixie. You may get it 1 time a game. But when you're running 4 and 5 plays, now Joe had armpits down to here and we said, 4 plays? Wait a minute. When we convinced him, and he knew it, we became a very, very, very efficient offense. A very, very good football team. Working down now our OF. This was one of our featured plays. When I went to the Raiders, Al really liked the counter game. He loved it. But out there, once a commitment's made, it's a two-back offense out there when we were out there. That's okay. We had a decent fullback. We had a great running back, Napoleon Kaufman. Boom! He can hit it in a New York minute. So we said, on the counter right now, the thing that we're going to have to do, on this counter right here, and we gave it a word trigger. We wanted to hit this play in the A gap, B gap, or backside A. We didn't want to go off tackle anymore because now the opponents out there, Denver, Kansas City, were starting to play a real wide 5 technique. So they were taking that tray block away from us. You know, we were kind of losing our tackle. So we said, they want to play wide. Let's attack the inside bubble. And we gave it a shot, and we had great success with it. We made a call at the line. The call in the huddle was just far eye right, slot, trigger. Trigger right. Got to the line of scrimmage, and we had a rule. Sam is on the line of scrimmage. Sam on, the tackle just says, trigger! He just recalled. Sam's on. When Sam was on, we drove block right here. 2 drive blocks. We took them guys right where they wanted to be. They were playing contained positions. If the strong safety away from slot was in a low position, and this is where Romanowski used to play for Denver, and that'd bring that safety within 4 or 5 yards at the tight end, we slammed and blocked the force. That guy had to be a real target for us to do that. At times, when that guy was a blow-up type of guy, that's how we blocked that side right there. So we wanted to wall this off because in that look, he was contained. He could not let anything get around him. And what we did on this, that was the key block. You got to work this. That's the angle theory right there, gang. Say, hey, why do a lot of other different drills? Drive block, angle block, double teams. That's football. That's football. And then as long as you teach them how to drive block, you can work inside zone, outside zone, whatever you want to call that. But hey, teach them how to smack him in the mouth. But try that one time, you know. You have some fun doing that, teaching that. It's a hell of a technique because I'll tell you, it teaches a son of a bitch to throw them hands in there. And to get him to do it, just put a shield up on a fence. Just teach him how to uppercut. Use them heels of the hands right there. Wisniewski used to practice hours at a time because he had big arms and then boom, boom, just punch. Learn, that was Woody Hayes' theory. What's the weakness of the kid? Find out his weakness, then work the son of a bitch on it every day. Don't try to create something. If he has a weakness in pulling, pull him 50 times every day. Make him a better puller. Make him a better puncher. He said, that's coaching. Don't worry about entertaining a guy with 10,000 different drills. What are you going to run? Then teach it. And use the boards if you have to. On this technique now, on the OF, we used the shuffle technique by the center. Meaning, when the guard pulled, he just replaced the guard. It was a 2-step shuffle. We didn't angle. We just wanted to replace and cover that 3 technique up because we wanted our tackle, and this is something we needed to do a better job of, bringing him down, then swinging for that end. You have to shut the 3 down. If you become a good counter football team, the OF takes care of it, but that tackle, and if you got the tackle in the wrong stance and he takes one of these steps right here, it's over. It's all over. You get the Chester McLaughlins and the Trevor Prices and guys like that, it can get upfield on you. You got to shut that gap down. You got to shut it down. We like to slot out there because they like to bring that safety down. So it was a shuffle technique. We called this a hand wham. And then we hit this sucker right down here. We had the guard now. The O guard pulled. He had Mike. The fullback step. With these guys stepping right here, that Mike Backer basically cut that Will Backer off. Now, this is the guy you have to do a great job of schooling. He met with the offensive lineman. We had tape, and we showed the game tape. That F was in our meeting room. Those guys that had to run the counter worked with the offensive lineman. And he hit it real tight. And you'll see this on tape. He had the Will Backer. With Napoleon Kaufman there, he hit that thing now. It was sudden. So we went from Connor off tackle to Connor. Now let's move that sucker in the A gap or B gap according to the defensive lineman. Now, the next thing was you start blocking out. Now that linebacker is going to try to blow up the play. So we told that tackle, anytime you got a mug was 2 yards off the football. When he is a mug backer, you just say, rifle! You could come up with any code where our guys liked rifle. On a rifle call, nothing changed for Y. He wanted to take the Sam. Z, X, block the targets. The tackle now, on this kind of action right here, the Connor was great from that I formation because it looked like we were running our weak lead right there. That's the guy we wanted to do this or take a step inside because our tackle now, that was his buy. When he called rifle, you're going to buy the mic. You're going to buy the mic. When you buy the mic, the guard's going to buy the end. We're going to trap the end. Nothing changes for the center. Nothing changes for the hand wham. Now, fullback, nothing changes for you. You still have the will backer, and we're hitting that sucker right there. So, again, the counter is calls. The counter is assignments. The blocking backs have to be with the big guys. They'll get their passing game other times, but when it comes to run period, those guys are with the O-lineman. They watch the tape. They watch the end zone tape. That was a nice thing about working in this system right here. Any question on that, men? The next one was this. We started getting a lot of this defense right here. But keep in mind, the rule was Sam on, Sam off. If Sam's on, I'm going to try to push the trigger. I'm going to try to push the trigger. So in this case right here, Sam was on, so the tackle made a trigger call. That was easy blocks because they were so wide. We had a guard in Oakland by the name of Kevin Gogan. He had a very, very difficult time blocking a 3 technique. His first step, he'd get his ass in a hole. So we said, we got to help this sucker become a better drive blocker. So we worked a shuffle technique with them. And you'll see that. A wide 3, that was the greatest play to run in that A gap. So what Gogan would do, and he was very proficient, he just was not a great drive blocker when a guy played a shade on him. So we used the shuffle technique, and we told him, stay square, stud. You don't have to knock them 4 yards off the football. Just don't allow them to penetrate. And what they did off his defense, they did a lot of angling. So the shuffle technique helped us. So anytime a kid would turn, he was uncomfortable trying to get his shoulder square, we helped him. We loved that shuffle, and we practiced it. We believed in it. We sold him. So he did a good job on that. Nothing changes right here. He had the mic backer. He stepped, prevented any kind of a run-through. He whammed. He stepped. He took the will. And again, we're off and running. And you'll see most of these shots on the tape right there, man. It's a great football play. It's a great football play to teach. I know people are into the inside zone, but hey, this is moving parts. This helps you. What it does is it helps you cut down all the goddamn other nuance plays. You know what I mean? The 15, 16, 17 plays you see somebody else run. One thing Gibbs and Bum weren't, they weren't copycats. We were going to do it this way. Hey, we're going to be bullheaded. We're going to teach it this way. We're not going to copy anybody else because we believed in this. And again, you need one play in your arsenal. Say, hey, man, we're not starting out fast enough. What do we want to run? We come with our counter. Here is the 8-man front. We come up with a plan right here because anytime that they want to move that 8th guy up in the box, hey, but we want an idea to run it. So on this, how we wanted to run it, we wanted to run Sam off now. Anytime Sam was off and we felt the tight end can arc and block him, we made the call trigger. We wanted to try to get as much base blocking as possible to that call side right now and not get double teams and push that sucker outside. This is where we wanted to hit the OT, the OF, excuse me. Those guys, we wanted it tight. at Titan. When you widen your defense on us, played contain, we wanted this. We made that call. We used the shuffle technique. Now we brought the Z across, and we took the tackle and just hand, free safety, Z, overtake. Nothing changes here. You got Mike, you got Will. It's assignments, but it's a good play, and you'll see it on the tape. Now, here's the thing. You'll see a great look on this when we ran counter OF. But we used the tray block. We were playing Buffalo a couple years back, and Buffalo liked to play that defensive end in a front technique, a two-gap. And they weren't real big guys, so we said, hey, this week, man, when we run the counter, we're going to tray block it. So we went to the tray block, and again, these two had the far backer any run through, or any run through. Nothing changed there. Nothing changes here. Now, this guy stepped inside and hand wham. You're going to see a pretty thing on picture where that guy tried to dog, and so all the tackle did was step right at the end, just touch that end man on line of scrimmage. So those were the blocks right here. All right, let's watch a little bit of tape right now, man, of the counters right now. Okay, this is Denver, in fact, right here. All right, this is the OF with a trigger called the wide 5. So we just run a drive block right here, angles. And you can see how this guy gets a little bit trapped by the backs going. We ran this off our weak slant. Boom, hit it. You got to make him miss. Just outrun him. Good players, you know, make good plays. And all you have good players. But I think that what the running back wants to know is, hey, who's the guy that's not going to be blocking? Let's go from there. So that's the hole we wanted to hit. We wanted to power it with a fullback and a guard. Here's the next case right here now with a nose tackle rolling out. Under defense, wide 5 technique. Hey, wide 5, we want this hole right here. We want it here, B gap, A gap, backside A. That's period, simple. On that call, push it. Now this looks close. Bad technique by the center, but almost doesn't count. Bad technique by the tackle. He needs to come down a little bit harder on that 3 technique to help us. Nothing changes here. The nose guard now spins out. Take him wherever he wants to go on the angle. He spins out, onside A, backside A. You have to have a smart guy playing this position right here, man, because he's got to find his will backer when the will's off the line of scrimmage. He's got to find him. He's got to have enough sense to know that that play can break in the backside A. Redskins, this is our bluff. We talked about the bluff. Here comes the receiver across. This is a solid defense, flex nose. So we make a double team block and consider this guy the Mike. So the right guard and right tackle have the 3 and the looping nose. They like to loop that nose to the tight end side, so we accounted for him. This guy was a bluff. He had the safety. See it better from the end zone. Ran it 27 times in this game right here, but the flex was the key. If he was flexed, we wanted to use these 2 on these 2. Consider him like it's a middle linebacker. The tight end again, he would take that gap step, man, and he would try to get through if possible. But if that guy crossed his face, then we worked the high arm technique. We told that end, step down. If you can get through, go for the far backer. If you can't, if he crosses your plane right there, give him a high arm. There's the gap. Shoulders square as possible. He takes it, now high arm. Got the bluff, kick out, tackle alley. Left side. Come across in slot. This is a scare block right here. Close, but it's a great football play. Here's the tight end, gap step on that end. We had to make a deuce block because of a threat of a run through right here, so we deuced it, brought the tight end down on that gap step. If you can get through that gap, stud, you take it, we tell them. But don't get knocked inside. Get your shoulders square. Don't come down at an angle because that defensive end can knock you into that tackle and guard. So he has to take that gap step and work upfield. Upfield. Now build the wall. Here's a good one right here. Our center was pretty good, and we had everybody pulling. On a 4-3 defense, Denver shifted to a 4-3, and we told them, if that backside tackle tried to run a TT, or you couldn't block him, as you step, then you make the pull also. You get in the routine also. So you see our center right here. Because if you tell people this without backing up, they think you're BSing them. But watch the center. He feels like he's going to get pinned. Maybe he steps around. Makes a good block on 2nd and 4 or whatever. Here it is right here. They stem to a 4-3. Here's the tight end off the football. They love it, this technique right here, because now you get a good gap step and you get a real good read on that guy right there, what he's going to do. But center, if you can't catch that guy right now, you got to skin around, but stay tight because there's a herd of people coming around. If you're going to do it real tight, do it real quick. Just keep on touching everybody's rear end, and then make a block at the point. We wanted a power play. If we had 5 people who can pull, we would do it. We wanted to get double teams and power into those gaps, into those seams. All right, here's the load, the 3 tight ends. Now, this is the 8-man front. To settle us down, hey, let's go after that 8-man front. What play do we want to use? This is our counter load right now, OT load. Now, he's the sealer. Now we get the 4 block, we call it. The inside guy, see the gap step? Gap step right here. Gap step right here. Now, get upfield, pad under pad. Now abort. Now abort. Make sure now the wingback stays on cloth. Now the tight end comes off. Great football plays, man. If you want power football, I don't think there's a better football play. Of course, we sold on this sucker. I mean, there's no better plays in football to get bloody somebody's nose. But again, you got to work your balls off on the play. It don't come easy. This is Mike Tice, the head coach at Minnesota. He was our 2nd tight end. Okay, here's now the 3 tights with a wing. 4 block right here. Tight end step inside. Get squared up. Wing back, come down. Push him across. Build the wall. Do not let that guy influence us because we got pullers. You take that double team block and build a wall right there. That's what we want. The most disciplined position of people on double teams, not chasing high defenders. See that? We didn't want this guy to come off and chase that guy. Even though he took the cheese, now he becomes a high defender. Stay off of him. He's not inside you. Stay off of him. Save 2 for the pullers. Save 2. But build a wall through the ball. Build a wall through the ball. All right, here's that one we talked about. This is the tray with the Will on the line. We told this guy, if Will comes on the line, you're off of him right now. You're off of him. You're a freebie right now. This is our H-back. You're a freebie. No, we'll watch the left tackle from the end zone on this. This is a nice play. This is what we call the hand wham technique by the left tackle. So he steps down for the 3. Center shuffles. He steps down for the 3, holds off, now just touch. That's all you have to do. Just knock him off his plane. You don't have to. The biggest thing about the hand wham technique is not leaving your guard. Step your center. Step down, bide some time, and then come off. Then come off. Don't chase decoys. Don't chase decoys. There was the tray block. We could have done a little bit better right here. Angles. There's the trap. So anytime we got a real tight 5 or a 4 technique, we wanted to double team. But if he got in a wide area right there, gang, well, we went to the drive block scheme. You guys understand already what I'm talking about. Right there, this is pretty good football play. All right, here's the 1 back right here. 1 back plays. Here's the counter. Wanted to show you this. This is a little guy right here, Ricky Sanders. It's just a scare block. Bite him, do something to him, just scare him. But basically, don't worry about, a lot of times you worry too much about the guy making a play. If you do, make an adjustment. Make an adjustment. Put the H back over here. Well, I'll show you another play where we put the X in tight if you feel that guy's a danger. But don't let a defense run you out of a play if you love it. If you fucking love the play, don't get chased out of it, please. But here's the Y off the ball. He's by himself now. Okay, here's the situation. Let me show you from the end zone right here on a 4-3 defense. What we wanted to do now, if we felt that Mike was no threat, Will's on, that's a blackboard 4-3, and if Mike's deep, we'd rather have a double team between our tackle and tight end than our guard and tackle. So he would just make a tray call, and that would put the guard one-on-one on the 2 technique. Now we'd get the tray block right here, which we liked. Now we'd get to play how we want it run right here. So there is some calls, you want to do it. Here's Denver again with weak safety on a blitz. This is that defense we talked about before. I want to show it to you from the end zone. There's the wide over right here. We use the shuffle technique on this guy. Ready for the pinch. Wall him down. Drive block on the outside. Guard on Mike. Fullback on the Will. Just outrun the free safety because it's a downhill play. The play was called trigger. So we weren't going off tackle. Now, if you're running off tackle all the time, that backside safety can catch you. But if you're hitting that A and B gap, he doesn't have a chance. This is good job, good hustle by Timmy Brown. Timmy Brown was a legitimate tough guy for us. That sucker did. He ran a long way to make plays, make hits. We had guys, fun guys to be around, you know what I mean? We loved on them a lot. We're, again, being a locker room coach. All right, here's the one back from the T position. We called this T counter. T being behind the tackle, Q was behind the quarterback, and same was behind the same tackle, or the same way you're going to run the play. So we had same, Q, T. We put this back anywhere we wanted to. Now right here, we didn't need a seal block. But everything, again, man, in the Redskin offense was OTs. Because of just this fact right here. We're going to be one back. We'd like to get you 5, 6, 7 in the box. We like those odds. Those were good odds. All right, counter pass. Same formation. This is the great play when you're running the football real good against them. It's a real good scheme right here. Again, we had a young offensive line, was aggressive, and again, depends on who your head coach is. He was our offensive coordinator. He had a great run mentality. He knew these guys were young up there, and he was not going to put them in position to fail. And we were going to establish the run first, then run the pass. And this pass right here, the first one we have up, we called it Cardinal, just brought up names instead of using numbers. The Z came across, and what he did, he ran for that far pylon. The X now, that's the goal post. He ran the post, the near post. So anytime we find out, when we went in movement, this guy was carrying the receiver. We thought that was a mismatch. Can't do it. And they were rotating this guy up for run force. And if they were playing man with one free safety, one fielder, and this guy took one bad step, it was touchdown. It was touchdown. The blocking now was the tight end stayed the same as he always does on counter. Gap step. You block that gap. You do not mess with that guy right there. You stay in that gap. Blocking down. Now, depends on if that guy was flexed, we would work this combination and back the center up. The center now on this, we're just pulling our guard. He would use a shuffle and try to stay as square as possible. be in the best pass blocking position. So he would shuffle and try to get a frontal position on the backside three. We pulled the guard. He had the first man outside of Y, whoever showed. The R back had the high rusher if they brought a corner cat. No outside rush, he ran a check down. So the guard had low, the R back had high. The fullback now, this tackle stepped down, him in the center, zoned those two guys right there. And the fullback replaced the line of scrimmage as fast as possible. He had end man on LOS. If the buck backer or will backer dropped and the center had that block, then the tackle would come out and help on the F. No matter what defense you draw up there, men, believe me, it's a cod locker. Tight end on a 4-3, gap, double, gap. Mike run through, that tight end had to buy him. Shuffle, guard, low, R, high, set, seal, double. This was the second route. We ran these two routes. The double post, and the guy in the press box said, "It's time, Joe. It's time," because they're rolling the corner, carrying the receiver, and they're bringing that safety up, and the strong safety's trying to cradle up also. So that was the first route, and then we ran the basic over-under route. One time we had X doing it, Z coming in on a 4 route, so this was the route we had a lot of success with, especially against Philadelphia, because Buddy Ryan couldn't help himself. He was going to put 8 people in the box. So those passes right there got us good chunks with good maximum protection, two-man routes. Two-man routes. Okay, the next thing, man, we'll see that, and then the next thing, hope everybody's doing all right up there. The next thing we did was our halfback stutter to the weak side. Now, this should be an H right here. So you can put the H again anywhere you want him. Line him up over here, line him outside of X, line him up on the line of scrimmage and pop him off. But we wanted to get this guy back to this, we call the near eye position on this particular play. This play was great versus a team that really wants to overload the tight end side. And we had some very, very basic, easy rules. The tackle, the backside tackle, always pulled. He had will. Always pulled, you have will. That's your bye. The onside tackle showed pass and ran a drive block. So this is the alley we wanted to hit. Now, coming with our weak side counter, and we called it halfback stutter. This was the nice thing right here. The center and the onside guard doubled the gap to Mike. That was their bye. It's, again, counters or assignment plays. The guard, anytime he was covered, 2 technique, 3 technique, you're on a bye. You buy the 3. He's yours. The tight end had first man inside gap, and the H had outside man, and we're off and running. You'll see some jailbreaks on this one. So we did have to come back with the weak side when we wanted to on particular defenses. If a defense was 5-1 over defense, we're going to run weak counter. If they are a 4-3 defense and like to put the will on the line, we also know that they like to play that guy in a 1 technique. So the rule was the same. You're covered, you buy. You're always pulling. On this side right here, the tackle just said force. He trapped the will. The tackle blocked the end, the center, and the on guard doubled to the Mike. He had the end. And wherever you want to bring that guy, end up in that near eye position. He blocks end man on line of scrimmage. And again, we're off to the races. We didn't like to run the play versus the under because That means our tackle had a block down in that 3, and that defensive end could give you a headache, and we didn't want to spend a lot of time in bouncing the ball, to the outside. We want to hit that sucker downhill as often as possible. So if it was an under, we had better plays. We had better plays. We weren't going to force the issue. The OY is a great nickel play. We had great success both in Washington. We had great success with the Raiders because we had a pretty good tight end that can run. He wasn't a great hitter, but he can run. Ricky Dudley. He can run fast. And anytime we find out a team that liked to play that over nickel, which a lot of people played with the 6 in the box, again, we liked that block right there on our counters. We wanted to soften the edge as much as possible, not get the guard's neck shortened. We didn't want this guy to have to come out and pull and do too much reading. We wanted to be exact. You have bubble backer. Guard now, again, on the OY, we did this. Double. The guard now, he had first bubble. The tight end, real tight, he had second bubble backer. Step, wham, came across, downhill. We like this now from the T position because what it did was, when him over here, that put that linebacker in a very advantageous alignment. When you start running things from same, now you get them linebackers cocked and they could be a danger. So the furthest we can get that linebacker over to get the pin blocks in there, that's when we went to the T position or the Q position. This was our Q position right here. 4-3 defense, we actually told our tackle on that situation right here, because of the different zone dogs, you block the end man on the line of scrimmage. We thought this was an easier trap, so our tackle would set and block out. If that guy was zone dogging, which we caught him right here, a lot of the times, he trapped, second backer, hand wham, step, and hit it. So basically on a zone dog, if that B backer was on the line, somebody had to drop back, and a lot of times they were playing that defensive end cautious. Even if he did pinch, we thought it was an easier block than blocking down and have that linebacker blow you up, because that's a short edge right there. So we told our tackle, block out, trust the play. And we told our guard, trust the trap. Trust the trap. Okay, men, let me go over one thing now. This is we've been through nickel. This is another nickel run. We basically went in with no more than 2 to possibly 3 nickel runs. Counters. We like the counters. We called this post, and we like to move the tight end on this. We would set him, move him across. He was responsible for blocking the defensive end in nickel. So as he came across right here, he would level off. He had defensive end. We called this the deuce block. They had far backer. We used shuffle technique. We used the hand went. Anytime the tackle stayed in, we used the shuffle. The guard pulled. He had first bubble backer, and we're hitting the counter. We liked it this way. Get the tight end set right here. Get the end in a nice enviable position. Bring him across, fake yo, block. Nothing changes right here. First bubble backer. Hand wham. Again, counter football. Last play, we start using this pretty frequently at both, with the Raiders because of this little guy right here. We were not a good outside zone team because of, I don't know what they called it out there, stretch. We ran a stretch play, we ran out of bounds. I mean, we worked our nuts off on that. We finally told Al, we said, Al, it's a waste of time, babe. Let's seal things down. But Al liked pulling parts, so he was easy to convince about that. But that damn stretch play, I talked to John Robinson about it. He put it in a Southern Cal when he was out there. He said, we were -2, -3, -4, -1, +1. We all cheer, but we'd run right out of bounds. So we said, okay, let's come up with a play. Let's come up with a play when a defense is playing this, and it's a great nickel run. or a 3 wide run as we used it, where this guy would do the buying right here. We brought our H across, and he blocked the force. That's his rule. He blocked force. Basically, the force was a strong safety. We had to buy right here, buy here. Double team again, block down, guard pulled. If the linebacker was in a fair position, we just scooped it and we cut it off. And we ran it as an explosion play right here off the pullers. Again, we'll show you that on tape. What we start finding out, when we start playing teams that played man coverage and we moved our H across, and we have this on tape, if that Sam backer, because this was a back for us at Oakland, if he undressed, if Derek Thomas undressed, you block him. Now we block down, tackle, you block the safety, guard, you horn for the backer. Scoop. So anytime the tackle was pulling, if your target disappeared, you just run your alley. You had an alley block all the way. This play became very, very good for us out there. We ran this quite a bit because we were a big 3-wide team out there also. Just for the same reason, you guys see the same thing. Eliminate the 8th guy in the box, make him cover. 7 in the box, it's fair. Hey, you're going to win those battles. But the 1 back is live and well, man. You can do a lot of things from out 1 back. At Washington, we didn't have fullbacks. We had very, very average backup tight ends, but the suckers just can blow snot on you, you know what I mean? They could block you. They can block you, and we made them block. The whole point of this is, hey, don't worry about them getting tired. That's an overused statement. The more you block them, the better they come late in the season when you have to have that late surge. Don't put a pair of pink panties on. Don't feel sorry. The only thing Joe did was, about the 9th game, he'd give Monday and Tuesday off. But Wednesday, we full pad Wednesday, full pad Thursday, and we gave him a break. We put shorts on him and shoulder pads on Friday. But we did our best coaching job as an offensive staff when it was team period. We made them, that Scott team, fucking run to the ball, play technique. We had a hoop and holler time because we made that offense. Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday practice real hard. And then Saturday, the old way in pro football, they used to bring their dogs and wear funny hats. We didn't do that. You know, Saturday was a work day for us. We stayed on the field about an hour and a half, walked up and down the field, went through all our substitutions, ran off the field, special teams. So Saturday was a real work day. You know, it was a no-nonsense approach for Gibbsy. He hooped and hollered after the game. We drank our beer. We had as much fun as anybody. But during the fucking week, man, it's no nonsense. And, you know, we're there to, you know, let me just tell you this. That owner, in our contracts, and this is what motivated the Washington staff, maybe I told you. The back of that contract, for example, if you made $200,000 in the playoffs, all the playoff games, the Super Bowl, the owner, Jack Kent Cook, he matched that. So you can make $400,000 in January. Fuck, we were going to scrimmage every day. We were going to coach hard every day. And those players knew it. That motivated us. And when we took that money home to our wives, you know what I mean, did this, they didn't care if we stayed at the office 7 days a week, you know what I mean? They could care less. Yeah, just bring home the check, Joey, all right? That's all we want to do. So we had no problem staying at the office. You know, the wives didn't come over and start hollering. Just they had their fur coats on, their jewelry. You know, it was just bring home the bacon. So that group right there stayed together 13 years and 4 Super Bowls. Man, that's quite an accomplishment for him, you know what I mean? Then when free agency came in, Gibbsy said, I've had it. I'm not going to lose these guys and bring somebody else's problems in, and they don't have the work ethic that we do. So once we knew our philosophy, we spoke in one voice. We're going to do it this way. And we didn't waver. That's what the Gibber wanted. And that's what we were going to do. Let's wrap up this tape right here, man. This is the pass right here. This is the double post, okay? Same thing. The only thing is our H-back, our fullback in this case, went opposite. See, right here, maximum protection. So all that safety had to do is take one false step. So one run for the pylon, the other one ran for the post. Great play. Talking big chunks, man. We were vertical. I don't know what the West Coast offense is, but we were vertical. We ran a hitch, and if they pressed, we ran a fade. We worked our rear ends off on fades. We were a great fade team because of Joe Theismann. He can go 1-2, get the ball up now. We prevented a lot of sacks. When we went vertical, we maxed protection, we play action, but we weren't dink and dunk. We weren't going to run those shallow drags where people got blown up. Gary Clark said, hey, you call that, you run it. I'm not going to do it. I want to run deep ins, deep outs, and home runs. Now, 3rd and 3, we ran our scat game. We had one hot protection with scats, and that was a 5-yard, just dink it to Art Monk. He was the great scat runner. But Clark and Sanders, hey, give me the vertical, gang. I don't want to go across that middle. You know, there's nothing in there but a 2-yard and a headache, a 2-inch gain, our defense would call it. All right, here's the maximum protection. Told the center to shuffle, get squared up. Now it's pass blocking. Tight end our back check down, but throw the ball deep. The safety takes a bite, man. It's all over. It's all over. This is now the over-under theory. This is Philadelphia, and they love to play 8 in a box. And this was a great football play. If you think you can play a single safety on us, a fielder back there, you're whistling Dixie. Especially if that corner carries that Z. And they're going to play that free safety shallow. We're going to run the over-under. This is Gary Clark. This is what Clark was noted for, those deep in routes. That's what he wanted. He didn't want shallow crosses. He wanted those ins. It opens up. Let them play 8 in a box. But if you get that run game going, if you get it going, this is chunks, and it's easy protection. You're teaching the same thing as you do on the counter. It's easy. It's a carryover. That's what we want, a carryover. Don't recreate a new wheel. Keep the backs in the block. Maximize the protection. Protect the quarterback. This is a good quarterback, good thrower right here, Doug Williams. He can launch. That was the whole thing there, and it was very successful. This, I'll show you. This is our kind of reverse, man. This is, if you get a hard chaser on the backside, a Jason Taylor type of football player, now we had the left guard, left tackle, and our H-back pulling. Now we brought the center, offside guard across. This is good football, a good gadget, especially if you're running hard. See, you're trying to chase down it. Good chunks, very good chunks. Easy play to put in. You can put it in Friday afternoon or Saturday morning. Because just pull and run. That's all we want to do is pull and run. Center, if you can get out, great. Backside, guard, tackle, just fight through traffic and just whack on somebody. Good chunks. We went in movement, brought the Z around. Pull everybody. Here's even a wide end. They can't help themselves. This guy's in space out here. Can't help himself. He's still going to chase. This is a screen off the trigger, man, right here. This is a beautiful play. This is the same action right here. Going to fake to him. He's going to pretend like he's a sealer, and he becomes a screen back. Great football play. We like play action screens rather than just regular screens because we were such a big pulling football team. Some of it are really jokes. You know, I just didn't put the good play. I cut out the plays to show you that if you're a good counter team, you can add without too much over-coaching, as we call it right there. And we weren't really a good slow screen football team. You know, they play man coverage on you or hug up on that back. Here, people get lost when you start pulling everybody. I threw this one, and I think this is our weak side counter right here. We did this against Denver. We took the risk. Short edge. That's what we didn't like about it. You know, this guy can't blow up the place, so you got to be you got to be smart on this play. We felt we took the risk, but we don't like to get anybody hurt on that, because if this sucker's a werewolf, he can blow you up. That open side trap, I mean, it draws up good, but Okay, here's the counter from the two back. We went for a wing set right here. We like this blocking scheme also. 7 in the box, Pirate in there. There's the hold. That's just a scare block. Center now did a bad job, but what his job was, we just told him, you got to shoot as hard as you can. But the hold-off man's in pretty good position right there, Art Monk. You know, not a devastating block, but at least they understood the philosophy of it and weren't afraid to get in there. See the guy off the ball. He can make good blocks on that down block, man. So, you know, we weren't afraid to, I know that's not the why, but we weren't afraid to keep our guys off the line. We think they can block gaps better off the line, believe it or not. All right, here's the counter. We put X in tight. This is Gary Clark, and look at that little butt. We just told him to stand up right there and scare the guy, you know what I mean? Talk to him, do anything, just hold him off, because we wanted to run the counter. This was from a bunch type of look right here. This is 3 receivers. 3 receivers in the ball game. X tight. Just different ways. Okay, this is the OY, a good nickel play. This is the over 4-2 nickel. Y's off. Tackle's going to show pass. Help the guards block right there. You take him. Guard takes first bubble. They get screwed up on this one, man. See, we're doing this now. Let's see what, he may be in the same position here. All right, we're faking a sweep on this and coming back. Screws up this linebacker right here. Good football. Counter football is a lot of fun. I think the players really accept it. They enjoy it. It's interesting. I mean, this guy, he'll probably run a 6'2", 40, Kevin Gogan. Who cares? You know, we shuffled him on pulls. You know what I mean? We did everything to help him. You know, we just shuffle Gogs and just Crapes looks like he's on high heels. You know what I mean? But he gets around. You know, he was a tough guy, tough dude. But his feet were terrible, and he was stiff as a wedding dick. But, you know, we had to find things to get him around, you know. But we had fun doing it. He had fun doing it. Everybody told him he couldn't pull. Oh, why? This is that one I told you with a linebacker comes up on the line where the tackle blocks out. See, they're going to start a zone dog right there. Gogan didn't do a real good job right there, but that's the idea of it. You know, we want to take this away. That guy we know is a known rusher. So anytime that guy tackle knows it's a known rusher out there and it's 50-50 on him, go block the known rusher. Take the stinger off the guard. But still, you know, you get the right number count. That's what we wanted on the play. This is our halfback stutter. You'll like this. Line this guy up anywhere you want to, no matter who he is. Now we're going to pump the ball weak side. The guard's covered, so he should not pull. So these two will block the mic. He has the will. It's a downhill play, man. It's good ball. Good ball right against over defenses. See, there's the double on the mic. Tight end release inside. And your fullback or extra tight end has end man on line of scrimmage. This guy just blocks the end best way he can. And again, if you're going to run the counter, you know, we try to use the tracks right here, get the counters going, run down them tracks. Again, boy, you shift on this. Very easy compute. If you're covered, just don't pull. Tackle is going to pull. He has the will. This is a setup. This is a high-frequency defense in the league right now. Call that an overbow colt, 3 backers off the line. And that's when we really want to attack. This was the toughest one right here. We talked about it. This is that 4-3 defense. But basically in a 4-3, if this guy's on an inside one technique, a shade, we're still going to block the tackle on tackle. We don't want any double teams. So again, man, the drive block was the first thing we ever did. We had to work the drive block. Now this was a very average bunch right here. Now the drive block, you have to be able to prevent penetration on all counters. You know that, but it's a hell of a football play. It's a good play when you don't have to double team. Now you got 2 out there and you don't want this. So one technique, hey, we're going to double here for Mike. You stay. You buy him. Buy him. You'll love this play. Now this is fake, stutter, naked. Shift the tight end over. This is another way. This was Jimmy Harbaugh when we were at San Diego. He loved to be out here to throw the football. Jimmy was an edge type of player out here. The tackles loved this. We pulled the guard, and the back faked weak. The tight end blocked end man line of scrimmage to set it up, and then he went in the route. We got the center out late. The tackles like this because we just said blow up. You got the first man to your inside. Attack him on the run right now. Go get him right now. You wipe him off the center. His job is to take this guy off the center so we can get the center out there in case of any leak package out here. He was just a safety valve on our nakeds. We weren't real good just live at quarterback out there naked. We try to get the center out all the time. Tight end come over, hit stop penetration. This time they had a stunt, so the tight end chipped him. Now the center overtook him. Better see it from the end zone. So again, man, it was play, action, pass, especially when you're average. If we asked that bunch to block empty and ghost all afternoon, oh man, that would be dangerous. That's where the center helped us right there, that late hit on naked. This was a good example right here, and they brought a force on the end of the line of scrimmage, I believe, right here. Ran a dog, and the center really saved the hit on the quarterback. That's how we really wanted to run our nakeds. We like to protect that quarterback first and foremost, not get him killed. But we liked our tackle coming down. They liked this kind of stuff because it was just a wipe-off, we called it. Wipe him off the center. Center blocked off. But wipe him, come down and damage him, stay high, go for his juggler. Center, you gotta come out and help. Stutter pass screen. Another one of our gadgets right here. Faking the weak stutter, pulling everybody, throwing it to the fullback. Again, we were not a real good slow screen team, but we were a pretty decent play action screen team because of the pulling, moving parts. It wasn't hard to coach, it tied in with everything, to be honest with you. This is the toughest one when you pull. Quarterback has to get depth because 2 guys on the backside, get depth, get your shoulders around and make the throw. Make the throw. He has to help you more than anybody, the quarterback. Depth, throw. Good. This is our post we talked about, moving the tight end. He blocks the defensive end. Double team block, we try to stay as square as possible, men coming off, you know what I mean? Not try to turn our rumps. We try to get a push right here because somebody's going to have to abort for that far backer. We had to protect this guy right through here, so we wanted to stay as squeezed and stay as tight as possible. As tight as possible. Get the guy moving backwards because you're going to have to come off sooner or later. But let's get that 3 technique moving. Let's blow him up. And again, if you don't work against good people in practice, you know, you're not going to get good double teams. That guy will eat you up. One guy can eat 2 people up. It's a good play. Again, it's all one back nickel stuff, but it's off the counters, and like I said, we were so committed to it, we were going to do it. And it's good versus dogs and blitzes. I noticed on television, boy, you guys, some of you guys there run a good power off tackle. God, don't get away from that. That is such good football. I was telling Art Keogh, I think I was watching one of the games, he ran about 17 times against Florida. That's good ball. You pick up all trash. These little guys get in there, boy, they're going to get knocked around. And the backs, you know, the backs are good enough to escape. Okay, this is that Bonds play we talked about right here. I know people like to run the stretch. We didn't. Like I said, we weren't good stretch teachers. We like sealing people down, pulling big hogs, and go on a hunt. Let a good back run. Anytime we ran inside, man, it was a zone. You know, we red step it. We didn't try to wipe people off. But anytime we wanted to run the perimeter, we tried to seal block down. Whether it was a load play or this play right here, we just felt we had more success doing this. This was a great job by the setup man. Timmy Brown's very smart. He sets up the zombie and blocks the target. Does a great job on this. This is why the receivers, I mean, your receiver coach got to meet, you know, we all meet in the same room, you know. You have to understand blocking. Because that just, you know, you just can't tell a guy to do. You got to practice that. And I think when we met all together, you know, Charlie Taylor was our receiver coach, and Charlie at Arizona State and Washington, he didn't have to block anybody, just run and catch passes. He became a hell of a blocking type wide receiver coach. You got to meet together because you learn a lot. You learn what's good and what's not good. Gogan did a nice job right there. Average blocker, it's Dudley right there, not a good job. Lincoln Kennedy, a real good football player. Big old heavy guy, can't run real good, but you know, they make blocks. That's Gogan. You know, he's a smart player. Smart players make good plays, even though they run 6'2", 40s. 10 yards, what counts. You know that. All right, here's the next play right here. If at the end becomes wide, we just made a G call. We called it gumbo, where we're going to short trap them. Double team, trap down. If the tight end can get through, he just said gumbo, gumbo, and short trapped. Passing situation. Explosion plays, but sealing off the big time guys inside. That's just a gumbo call. If you can get inside, take it. Just say gumbo. Let's short trap that sucker. But again, it's all off counters, pulling. Work all spring, all summer. Okay, man, is there anything that you want to ask? Any questions that you may have? Feel free. And hey, if I can help you in any way, I'm retired now. And I can help you in any way I can. I have a lot of tapes at home. I accumulated a lot of tapes over the years. If you need somebody to help you or just talk, if you just put your name and address on a piece of paper and give it to me at the end of this, I'll send you anything. I'll meet you any place. If you just want to sit down and chat about something, hey, I'm in it for you guys. If I can help you in any way, I would love to do it. And what I'm doing right now is interesting. I have a little radio show in Phoenix on the NFL on Fridays, you know, right through the Super Bowl. And then And then the agents have contacted me to work out kids, all over the country, get them ready for the draft. So I'm really happy. I want to stay involved in football, but I had probably enough coaching. I've been with some great ones. I've coached great players. The league has changed right now. If you have a great job in college, stay right there, believe me. Because there's teams in the National Football League won't ever get to the Super Bowl, let alone the playoffs. So they're not all lucrative jobs. If you go to the NFL, make sure as a line coach, you got a great D-line coach, and make sure that you have something to say in who you want to bring in. But make sure when you interview, what is your philosophy? Are we going to be empty and do that all day, or are we going to come off the football? I like to know that, see, because I don't want to get hung up in that kind of football. You don't want to make a coordinator a genius, just by pass blocking. So you got to be careful where you go and who you surround yourself with. The better job you do, the more people will come after you. You don't have to keep making phone calls. If you work your ass off, and I know this from the NFL, they scout coaches too. They know who's doing good jobs. But be careful before thinking the grass is greener someplace else, especially in the NFL. I loved it because Bum Phillips, Joe Gibbs, Al Davis. Al's crazy because, it's when I love being an assistant out there, but when you become a head coach, it's 365 a year, 365 days a year, and that old 24/7. And you were a beeper that buzzes you. So Al was a lot of fun to be around as an assistant. As a head coach, it's tough. But I learned a lot from the man. He's top shelf, first class, bring in any player you want, always sign the players. So somebody up there liked me because I had some pretty darn good jobs. I went to some other jobs as head, Arizona. That was a tough job. We had a great staff out there, but it's a swinging door. Be careful about some of them jobs right there. This is our one-on-one. This we did in the summertime before we went to training camp. We wanted to teach the guys how to get their hands. This was a guard on a tight two technique, the quick set. But again, if you want to teach a kid and keep them out of bad habits, put them in no helmet and no pads and say, this is live. And go to it. And go to it. This was a great bunch out here in San Diego, a bunch of young kids, We had a good time with them. But the one thing about Mike Rowley, working for him, he was a grass coach, man. He didn't want to sit in that office and guard his desk. But when that sun was out, get on the grass. If there's 3 kids in a facility, go practice with them. So it was a great job. Again, we didn't waste a lot of time working on charts or fucking statistics. We went out and coached the guys, You can waste so much time. Pro football, I know it is. Fuck you, we just sit there all day and guard our desk. Look at the clock. Joe would say, hey, let's work from 1 to 2 today and wrap it up. Go practice with your players. So I've been fortunate to be with guys that love to be on the field. This is a tackle on a 5 technique. We wanted a little bit more contact in this. But the idea is keeping the head back, On a wide rush, we always told the tackles, that toughest position for a tackle, we told them, there's an imaginary fence post right here. As you kick, and that guy's a wide rusher, don't chase him, but you're going to get turned at any level. You're going to get turned on Javon Kersey's and people like that. But when you drop that foot and turn, make sure you stay on your fence post. If that foot swings back, then he's going to go right around your shoulder. The passing game that we've been in was, if a guy can cover 5 yards in 3.5 steps, he's going to be real successful. That's how we taught him, all our pass blocking. We didn't care if it was 7 steps, 5 steps, you set, and if you had to go 5 as a tackle, 5 yards, man, you're going to win because that quarterback will step up in that pocket. He'll check and step up in that pocket. So you can get tough guys. And this guy has very, very slow feet, but in 5 yards, if he can get after you pretty good because he's big. Not a great athlete. Hell, we're all coaching not great athletes. But if you got hands and know where to put the hands, you got a fair chance. This guy was a young kid from K-State. I think this was, I can't think of his name right now. McIntosh, Damian McIntosh. But we worked hours and hours on the field, man. We just put our shorts on and stay out in the field all day if we had to. Just fight. We just wanted them to fight. Just be tough. Hey.
Joe, who are they working against?
They're working against each other, our O-line, because our defensive line at San Diego rarely came around. Marcellus Wiley, Ray Lee Johnson, you know, we couldn't get them on the field like this. You know, some of those vets, that's what I'm talking about, different places. Now, if in Houston or what, we can get Curly Culp on the field in a lot of places, you know, but some places, those guys disappear. You don't see them. But if you're the coach, you say, you're going to stay in time because we're going to work, and I ain't even going to charge you. And I had about 8 kids out there every day. And we went against each other, and we said, we're just going to beat the shit out of each other and have some fun. This is our fun day. But during camp and during the season, make no mistake, it's one-on-one. Because as a line coach, you can't teach technique to your offensive lineman, defensive technique. To get that and block reaction, what that guy's going to do, we did it every day. And that's why I always ask. Wayne Nunley was great about it out there. I always ask Floyd Peters, man, he just wanted to be with the offensive lineman all the time. So it's important when you interview, who is that guy going to be? I seen some guys stand in the fucking end zone down there for 4 fucking hours going over bags. When you're... Don't work. It don't work. It's a losing proposition, believe me. It's a losing proposition. And the suckers will not get tired of hitting, believe me. That's a fucking myth. They will not get tired of hitting. They will become calloused. Okay, that's that. Now let me show you the next drill, the 9-on-9, because I could verify this one too, because this is a great, great teaching drill if you have a young quarterback. Oh, yay. And we did this every day in training camp, gang. And in Washington, we do it during the season, too. 7-on-7 is kind of, as Joe would call it, it's an offensive drill, and it pisses off the defense. Because they always say, you're standing back here for 7 seconds. It's unreal. So we do this, and we get a lot accomplished. But, again, the head coach has to explain to the defense this drill. We don't want the quarterback touched, period. But, boy, if you got good rushers on defense, there's no better drill. I mean, they're coming. This is during mini camp. This is no pads, just helmets. This is our mini camps, and this is what we did in the passing game. We did not do 7-on-7. We did 9-on-9, and we could do it for 30 minutes to 45 minutes. But it's stunts. It's grabbing. We want the defense to go full bore. Because in 7-on-7, one-on-one pass rush is okay. But if we ever had to do it, we went 2-on-2 in stunts. Because we didn't really want to work against bull rushes and stuff like that. Now, if we had to, we'd do it for a couple of times, but we'd rather do this drill right here. One-on-one was a waste of time, we thought also. Let's get in competitive things right here where these guys are grabbing, giving us good alignment. We worked on our protections. If a slide protection was called or play action, we did the same thing. But, man, to build a good team, at least the people I've been around said, hey, you got to put your good players against your good players, and that's the only way you can build chemistry and who in the fuck is tough on your team and who is a chicken. Find out real fast. Now, this was a tough set for us, that 3 technique. We wanted our guards to jump right now. We just called it a jump set. We wanted to go get that 3 technique as fast as possible. Get our hands on them. Get our hands on them. In a hurry. Shut him down and fight him. So in this drill right here, the defense gave us some real great alignments. But the biggest thing, man, we got, maybe this group right here got 15 stunts in a practice, which is, God, that's monumental. Talking about twice a day, that's 30 times, 30 TEs and 30 ET stunts. It helped this guy. This was Flutie. It helps the little guys, the midgets, you know what I mean? When the big trees are coming into them, they have to throw the ball sidearm over a guy. They just can't stand back there. They got to throw it. I'm probably like you. I'm a tape freak, you know what I mean? Over the years, boy, I just cut up tapes because, again, players, you know, if you go to a clinic, you know, you could sit up here and draw on overlays and everybody, oh, gee. But a tape, you know, it's tough to cover up on a tape. You can't bullshit your way through on a tape, you know what I mean? Some good, some bad, but hey, this is how we did it. And football's football. It's still contact. What Chuck Noll said, it's still blocking and tackling. So, hey, let's block and tackle. Fuck, we're going to put shorts on and no pads and run around like a bunch of fruit cups? We don't want to do it. Now, Bum stayed on the field an hour and 30 minutes. You had to get everything done in 1 hour and 30 minutes. He'd blow the horn at 1 o'clock, at 2:30. Hey, he'd blow the horn, everybody's off the field. So it was rapid fire. And it was 1 hour and 30 minutes of full-ass contact. Now, down there, we wore shorts. Everything was high. Nobody hit the ground. But 1 hour and 30 minutes, you talk about having fun. And the players knew it, too. Because when that horn blew, woohoo, locker room. And he said, I'm the only guy that can overrule it. If you're not practicing good, we'll start all over. But 1 hour and 30 minutes goes like that. But you got 9 on 7, you got this, 9 on 9, you got team, you're off the field, and it's just bang, 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 every day for an hour and 30 minutes, every day. Bum said, if we're going to go out in shorts, ain't no sense going out. It's a waste of time. It's grab ass, pillow fights. Put the pads on. Let's have some fun. That's what we're paid for. Coach them. So this was a good drill for us right here, man. You know, develop young kids, develop the quarterback, the whole thing, develop your defensive line. You know, you got, that's John Perella, good rusher. That's Ray Lee Johnson. They're good rushers. Right, that's Damian McIntosh, a rookie. That's a rookie right there. But hell, we went from out one-on-one all summer. They didn't intimidate us. Those kids weren't scared of anybody. And they weren't great by any stretch of imagination, but fuck, they're going to fight you. Because that's all we did all summer was fight each other. That's the only way we knew how to coach, so hey, if you didn't like it, hey, leave. Real simple. But again, I've been real lucky with D-line coaches, man. They've been super. Hope you got 1 or 2 things out of it, you know. And again, like I say, if I can help you in any way, I'll be glad to do it for you. Anybody? Mr. Gilman? Am I okay? I got about 12 more tapes if you want to stay around and watch the tapes now. Thanks, Neil. Appreciate it. Thanks, man.